The morning rush at Celeste and Co. hit like a tsunami every weekday between 7 and 9. And Natalie Brooks had learned to navigate the chaos with practiced efficiency. She moved behind the espresso machine with fluid grace, calling out orders while simultaneously steaming milk and pulling shots, her hands working in perfect synchronization. Despite the exhaustion weighing down her bones, 20-6 years old and running on 4 hours of sleep, Natalie was in her second year of night classes at Boston Design Institute. By day, she served overpriced lattes to Boston's elite in this upscale cafe in Back Bay. By night, she studied typography and color theory, dreaming of a future where she created beautiful things instead of just serving them. The cafe was elegant in that effortless way that screamed money-exposed brick walls. Edison bulbs hanging from copper fixtures, reclaimed wood tables that probably cost more than Natalie's monthly rent. The clientele matched the aesthetic. Designer handbags, tailored suits, the kind of casual wealth that came from never having worried about money a day in their lives. Natalie had just finished a complicated order. Half-calf almond milk latte with sugar-free vanilla and exactly 140 degrees. Not a degree more when she heard the sharp voice that made her shoulders tense. "Excuse me? Girl behind the counter?" Natalie turned to see Rachel Thornton standing at the pickup area, her perfectly manicured hand tapping impatiently on the marble counter. Rachel was a regular, though regular implied some level of consistency. And Rachel's only consistency was being consistently difficult. Mid-30s, platinum blonde hair that cost a fortune to maintain, wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Natalie made in 3 months. "Yes, Ms. Thornton, your vanilla latte is almost ready." "I don't care about the latte," Rachel said, her voice rising to ensure nearby customers could hear. "I care about my wallet. My Hermes wallet that was in my purse when I sat down and is now mysteriously missing." Natalie's stomach dropped. "I'm sorry, are you saying I'm saying someone stole my wallet?" Rachel interrupted, her eyes boring into Natalie with accusatory intensity. "And you were the only one who came near my table when you brought my pastry." The cafe went quiet. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Every eye turned toward them. "Miss Thornton, I didn't take your wallet. I just brought your croissant, and don't lie to me," Rachel's voice cut like glass. "I know exactly what kind of people work these jobs. Desperate, struggling, probably drowning in debt. You saw an expensive wallet and thought you could make a quick buck." Heat flooded Natalie's face. "That's not true. I would never, Daniel." Rachel called to the manager who was emerging from the back office. "This employee stole my wallet. I want her searched immediately, and then I want her fired and arrested."
Oh.
Daniel Morrison appeared, his face already showing the calculations of a manager weighing a difficult customer against a replaceable employee. He was in his 40s, balding with the perpetual stress expression of someone who lived in fear of bad Yelp reviews.
"Hey, Thornton."
"I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding," Rachel said coldly. "My wallet is missing, and she's the thief. Search her pockets. Now, in front of everyone, so they can see what kind of criminals you employ." Natalie felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Daniel, I didn't take anything. This is humiliating. Just empty your pockets, Natalie," Daniel said quietly, and she could see he'd already made his choice. "If you have nothing to hide, it won't be a problem." The injustice of it crashed over her. She was being treated as guilty until proven innocent, all because a wealthy customer had made an accusation. But what choice did she have? She needed this job. Without it, she couldn't pay for school, couldn't cover rent, couldn't survive. With shaking hands, Natalie pulled out her apron pockets. A pen, some receipt paper, a hair tie. She turned them inside out to show they were empty. "Your jeans pockets, too," Rachel demanded. Arms crossed over her chest. Natalie's face burned with shame as she emptied her jean pockets in front of the crowded cafe. Chapstick, her apartment keys, a crumpled dollar bill. The customers watched with the fascinated horror of people observing public humiliation. "See?" Natalie said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't take anything." Rachel made a show of examining the items on the counter, then huffed. "Check her bag, then." Obviously, she hid it. "This is enough," Natalie said, finding her voice despite the tears threatening to spill. "I didn't take your wallet, and I won't be treated like a criminal." "Then you're fired," Daniel said quickly, seizing the easy solution. "Natalie, clock out and leave. We'll mail your final check. You're firing me?" Natalie couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Without any proof? Just because she accused me?" "I'm protecting my business," Daniel said, not meeting her eyes. "Miss Thornton is a valued customer, and oh, for God's sake." Rachel suddenly interrupted, digging in her designer purse. She pulled out a burgundy leather wallet with that distinctive Hermes logo. "Here it is." "It was in the side pocket all along." The cafe went silent again. But this time, the silence felt different, accusatory, but not toward Rachel. Natalie stared at the wallet, then at Rachel, waiting for the apology that had to come. Rachel simply tucked the wallet back into her purse without a word of contrition. "Well, crisis averted," Daniel said with forced cheerfulness. "Natalie, get back to work. We have orders backing up. That's it," Natalie heard herself say. "She just accused me of theft, humiliated me in front of everyone, made you search me like a criminal, and that's it. Not even an apology?" Rachel looked at her with cold dismissal. "I made a mistake. It happens. Don't be so dramatic." Something inside Natalie cracked. "Dramatic? You tried to have me arrested? You called me a thief and a criminal in front of all these people. The least you can do is apologize." "I don't apologize to the help," Rachel said flatly. "Now make my latte correctly this time." The last one was lukewarm. Natalie stood frozen, humiliation and rage warring inside her. This was her life working herself to exhaustion. Being treated as less than human by people who saw service workers as convenient targets for their cruelty? Actually, a new voice cut through the tension. Deep and carrying unmistakable authority, "I think an apology is very much in order." Everyone turned to see a man rising from a corner booth near the windows. Natalie had noticed him earlier. He'd been working on a laptop, nursing the same coffee for over an hour. Tall, probably early 30s, with dark hair and striking hazel eyes. He wore jeans and a simple black sweater. But something about the way he carried himself suggested wealth without trying. He walked toward them with calm purpose, and Natalie saw Rachel's expression shift from dismissive to uncertain. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Rachel asked, but her voice had lost some of its edge. The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Someone who just watched you deliberately humiliate an innocent woman for your own amusement? And I think everyone here deserves to know exactly what kind of person you really are." Alexander Sterling had been trying to work on code for the past hour, but the cafe's drama had proven far more compelling than debugging. He'd watched the entire scene unfold the way Rachel. Thornton had positioned her purse specifically to discover her wallet was missing. The calculated cruelty in her eyes as she'd accused the barista. The public humiliation designed to entertain herself at another person's expense. Alex had grown up poor in South Boston. Worked his way through MIT on scholarships and 3 part-time jobs, including one as a barista, where he'd experienced similar treatment from people who thought money made them superior. He'd promised himself that if he ever had power, he'd use it to stand up for people who couldn't defend themselves. Looked like today was that day. "Everyone in this cafe just witnessed what happened," Alex said, his voice carrying clearly. "This woman," he gestured to Rachel, "deliberately accused an employee of theft. Demanded she be searched and humiliated publicly. All over a wallet that was in her own purse the entire time. Was an honest mistake," Rachel said, but uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "Was it?" Alex pulled out his phone. "Because I recorded the whole thing. Including the part where you checked that side pocket of your purse before you made the accusation. You knew exactly where your wallet was." Rachel's face paled. "You were recording me? That's illegal. It's actually, Massachusetts is a 2-party consent state for private conversations. But this was a public space, and you were speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Perfectly legal." Alex looked at Daniel. "And you were ready to fire an employee based solely on an accusation, without any evidence, without even checking whether the claim had merit." Daniel's face reddened. "I was trying to de-escalate the situation by sacrificing your employee to appease a bully." Alex shook his head. "That's not de-escalation. That's cowardice." He turned back to Rachel. I think you owe this woman an apology. A real one. In front of all these people, you made witness to her humiliation. Rachel's jaw clenched. I don't know who you think you are, but Alexander Sterling, he said simply. I own Sterling Tech. Perhaps you've heard of us. We're the company that just secured $2 billion in Series C funding last month. Recognition flickered across several faces in the cafe. Alex rarely did public appearances, preferred to let his work speak for itself. But his name carried weight in Boston's tech scene. Rachel's expression shifted from defiant to calculating. Mr. Sterling, I didn't realize that I was someone whose opinion mattered. Alex finished. Which is exactly the problem, isn't it? You treat people poorly when you think they don't matter, when they can't affect your status or your comfort. But here's something you should know. I also own this building. All 12 floors, including this cafe. Daniel looked like he might faint. So let me be very clear, Alex continued, his voice hardening. You will apologize to this woman properly. Then you will leave and not return. And Daniel, you will not only reinstate whatever job security you just threatened, you'll give her a raise. Or I'll find new tenants for this space. The cafe was utterly silent. Rachel Thornton, probably for the first time in her privileged life, looked genuinely unsure of herself. I apologize, she said stiffly, looking at Natalie. I made a mistake. Look at her when you say it, Alex said quietly, and say her name. She's a person, not a servant. Rachel's face flushed with anger and embarrassment, but she met Natalie's eyes. Natalie, I apologize for accusing you of theft and for the scene I caused. It was wrong. Natalie stood frozen, clearly overwhelmed. Thank you, she managed. Rachel grabbed her purse and fled the cafe without looking back. Several customers looked distinctly uncomfortable, probably wondering if they'd ever treated service workers poorly and might face similar consequences. Daniel cleared his throat. Mr. Sterling, I assure you this kind of incident. Save it, Alex said. Just treat your employees with respect. They're the reason your business works. He looked at Natalie. Do you have a break coming up? I'd like to talk to you, privately. Natalie glanced at Daniel, who nodded frantically. Yes, take your break. Take however long you need. Alex led Natalie to his corner booth, gesturing for her to sit. Up close, he could see the tears she'd been fighting back, the way her hand still trembled slightly. She was beautiful, not in the polished, high-maintenance way of Rachel Thornton, but in a natural, genuine way that made his chest tighten unexpectedly. I'm Alex, he said, offering his hand. And I'm sorry that happened to you. Natalie Brooks, she replied, shaking his hand. Her grip was firm, despite her obvious distress. And thank you for speaking up. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Alex said simply. I watched her set you up. I grew up in Southie, worked my way through MIT while working service jobs. I've been where you are powerless while someone with money and status decides to make your day hell for their own entertainment. Natalie studied him with those intelligent brown eyes. So you decided to play knight in shining armor? Something like that. Alex smiled. Though I have an ulterior motive, I need to hire someone. It's cool. And after watching how you handled that situation with grace, despite being humiliated, I think you might be perfect for the job. I'm a barista, Natalie said cautiously. I don't know what kind of work you do, but I saw your sketchbook, Alex interrupted, nodding toward the bag at her feet where a corner of a design notebook was visible. When you were restocking earlier, you're an artist. Designer, if I'm not mistaken. Natalie's hand moved protectively toward her bag. I'm a student. Night classes at Boston Design Institute. What year? Second. I'm studying graphic and interface design. Alex's smile widened. Perfect. My company is developing a new virtual reality platform. We have brilliant engineers, but our interface design is functional at best. We need someone who understands aesthetics, user experience, someone creative who can make technology feel human. You're offering me a job? Natalie sounded incredulous. Based on seeing my sketchbook from across a cafe? Based on watching you maintain professionalism and dignity while being publicly humiliated? Based on the fact that you're working full-time while putting yourself through design school, which tells me you're dedicated and hardworking. And yes, based on the glimpse I saw of your work, which showed real talent." He pulled out a business card. "Think about it. Come to my office tomorrow. Tour the space, meet the team, see if it's something you'd be interested in. No pressure." Natalie took the card, studying it. "This seems too good to be true." "It's a real job with real expectations," Alex said. "But it pays better than making lattes for people who don't appreciate you. And you'd be working with technology that's actually going to change how people interact with digital spaces." "Why me?" Natalie asked softly. "Really?" Alex met her eyes. "Because I believe in investing in talented people who've been overlooked by a system that values connections over competence. You've got something special, Natalie. I saw it in how you handled yourself today. Come see what we're building. If it's not for you, no hard feelings." Natalie looked at the card, then at him, something hopeful flickering in her expression. "Okay, tomorrow I'll come see." "Good!" Alex stood, offering his hand again. "And Natalie, don't let people like Rachel Thornton make you feel small. You're worth 10 of her." As he left the cafe, Alex found himself hoping she'd actually show up tomorrow. There was something about her beyond the obvious talent and work ethic that intrigued him, something genuine in a world of polished facades. He had a feeling Natalie Brooks was about to change his life in ways he couldn't yet imagine. Natalie stood outside the Sterling Tech building in Cambridge, clutching Alex's business card and trying to convince herself this wasn't an elaborate prank. The building was a converted warehouse with floor-to-ceiling windows and the kind of minimalist modern aesthetic that screamed successful startup. She'd almost backed out 3 times that morning. This felt too sudden, too convenient. But the memory of Rachel Thornton's cruelty and Daniel's cowardice pushed her. Through the glass doors, the reception area took her breath away. Open concept with exposed ductwork painted matte black. Living walls of greenery and workstations where people typed intensely on multiple monitors. This was where innovation happened, where brilliant minds created the future. "You must be Natalie," a warm voice said. She turned to find a woman approaching, and Natalie's breath caught slightly. The woman was striking, with an almost otherworldly quality-long silver hair, unusual violet eyes, and skin that held a subtle purple undertone that caught the light strangely, almost iridescent. She wore flowing clothes and deep purples and moved with ethereal grace. "I'm Luna," the woman said, extending her hand. Her grip was warm, almost unnaturally so. "Alex asked me to give you the tour while he finishes a meeting. I'm his strategic consultant and sometime troublemaker." Natalie shook her hand, noting the unique warmth. "Nice to meet you. And your skin, if you don't mind me asking? Rare genetic condition affecting melanin production," Luna said easily, clearly used to the question. "Gives me this lovely lavender cast. Makes me memorable at business meetings." Her smile held ancient amusement. Luna guided Natalie through the workspace, explaining Sterling Tech's mission, creating virtual reality interfaces that felt intuitive rather than technological. The team was small but brilliant, working on what Luna described as the next evolution of human-digital interaction. "Alex has a gift for seeing potential in people others overlook," Luna said as they walked. "He grew up with nothing, built this from a college dorm room. He values authenticity over pedigree." "He mentioned he worked service jobs," Natalie said. "And he never forgot what it felt like to be invisible to people who considered themselves important." Luna paused, studying Natalie with those unusual eyes. "That's why he defended you yesterday, and why he wants you here." They entered a bright studio space with digital tablets, design software, and walls covered in interface mock-ups. "This would be your workspace," Luna said. "Alex wants someone who can make technology feel human. Your design background, plus your life experience, understanding how regular people interact with the world, makes you valuable." Natalie ran her fingers over a high-end drawing tablet. This is incredible. "You belong here," Luna said with certainty. "I've worked with Alex for 3 years, helped him evaluate hundreds of potential hires. Trust me on this, he sees something special in you." Over the following weeks, Natalie settled into Sterling Tech, and discovered Luna's assessment was accurate. She worked closely with Alex, designing interface elements for their VR platform. Late nights became common. The two of them huddled over screens, debating color psychology and user flow, while the city lights sparkled beyond the windows. Alex was different than any boss she'd had, demanding, but respectful, brilliant, but willing to listen. He valued her input, asked for her opinion, treated her as a collaborator rather than a subordinate. And underneath the professional relationship, something else was building. Chemistry sparked in small moments when their hands brushed, reaching for the same stylus. When she caught him watching her work with an expression that wasn't purely professional, when they laughed over bad takeout at midnight and their eyes held a beat too long, Luna watched it all with knowing amusement. She'd become Natalie's mentor and friend, appearing at oddly perfect moments with advice that seemed to come from somewhere beyond normal human experience. "You're falling for him," Luna observed one afternoon. Finding Natalie alone in the design studio, Natalie didn't bother denying it. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who recognizes the signs," Luna said, her purple-tinted skin seeming to glow slightly in the afternoon light. "And he's falling for you too, though he's fighting it." "'Cause I work for him," Natalie said. "It would complicate everything." Luna sat beside her, radiating that unusual warmth. "I've lived many lifetimes, seen many loves across many worlds. The ones worth having are always complicated. The question is whether the risk is worth the reward. What if it ruins everything? This job, this opportunity, what if it doesn't?" Luna interrupted gently. "What if you let fear keep you from something extraordinary?" That evening, Natalie and Alex worked late on a critical design presentation. Around 11, frustrated with a stubborn layout problem, Natalie stood to stretch. Alex stood too, moving beside her to study the design. They were close enough that she could smell his cologne, feel the warmth radiating from his body. Her heart hammered as she felt the electricity between them. "Natalie," Alex said softly, and when she looked up, his eyes held that expression she'd been seeing more frequently, desire mixed with restraint. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, then deepened as months of tension finally found release. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, and she threaded her fingers through his hair. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alex rested his forehead against hers. "I shouldn't have done that," he murmured. "You work for me." "This crosses lines," Natalie pulled back, fear flooding through her. "You're right. I should go." She grabbed her bag and fled before he could respond, her heart breaking even as her lips still tingled from his kiss. Luna found her the next morning in the studio, arriving before anyone else. "You ran," Luna observed. "He regretted it immediately," Natalie said, not looking up from her tablet. "Regretted the professional complication, not the kiss," Luna corrected. "You both want this, but are afraid of what it might cost. So you'll dance around each other, staying safe, staying professional." She tilted Natalie's chin up gently. "But Natalie, sometimes the safest choice is also the loneliest. Don't let fear steal your joy." Before Natalie could respond, Alex arrived. The moment he saw her, relief flooded his face.
Oh, yeah.
"You're here. I thought maybe you wouldn't come back after. We should probably talk," Natalie interrupted. "About last night we should," Alex agreed, but they didn't. Not that day or the next week or the month after that. They fell back into their working relationship, professional with undercurrents of unspoken feelings. And all the while, their creation, the VR platform, grew closer to launch. "You're both fools," Luna told them at a team meeting, making everyone laugh. But her violet eyes held serious intent when she caught each of their gazes. "Don't wait too long. Life has a way of forcing decisions you're not ready for." 3 months after that first kiss, Sterling Tech's launch party would prove Luna's words prophetic. And the universe would force both Alex and Natalie to decide what they really wanted before it was too late. The public confrontation, the Sterling Tech launch party, was held at the Intercontinental Boston, with 300 guests, including investors, tech journalists, and Boston's business elite. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, Where city lights danced on dark water, Natalie stood near the VR demonstration area, watching guests experience the interface she'd helped design. She wore a midnight blue dress that Alex had insisted on buying her a gift to celebrate her contribution to the launch, he'd said. Though the way his eyes had lingered when he'd first seen her suggested it was more than professional appreciation, Alex was across the room, schmoozing with investors. But Natalie caught him glancing her way repeatedly. 3 months since their kiss. 3 months of careful professionalism, masking the tension that built with every shared look. Every accidental touch Luna had left 2 weeks ago, announcing she was returning home with mysterious vagueness. Before leaving, she'd pulled Natalie aside. "The universe is going to test you both tonight," Luna had said, her purple-tinted skin seeming to glow with emphasis. "Be brave. Be honest. Don't let fear win." Natalie hadn't understood then. She understood now. Rachel Thornton swept into the ballroom on the arm of Cameron Pierce, CEO of Virtual Sterling, Tech's primary competitor. Rachel wore a white designer gown and the smug expression of someone who'd crashed a party, specifically to cause trouble. She spotted Natalie within minutes, and her face lit up with malicious delight. Well, Rachel said loudly, approaching with Cameron in tow. "If it isn't the little barista who cried theft, how did you manage to sneak into this event? Are you serving drinks?" Natalie felt her stomach drop but kept her voice steady. "I'm not serving. I'm presenting. I helped design the interface everyone's experiencing tonight." "How industrious," Rachel purred. "Sleep your way from coffee shop to tech company in just a few months. Impressive social climbing." Several nearby guests turned to watch, whispers spreading. Cameron looked uncomfortable but said nothing. "My work speaks for itself," Natalie said quietly. "If you'll excuse me—" "Oh, don't be modest," Rachel interrupted, her voice carrying across the ballroom. "Everyone should know how you really got this position. Alexander Sterling swooped in to defend poor little Natalie when I caught her trying to steal from me. You didn't catch me doing anything," Natalie said, anger finally breaking through. "You deliberately set me up and then found your own wallet. Alex simply stood up for someone being unfairly accused. And then conveniently hired you?" Rachel laughed. "Please?" "We all know what kind of services you're really providing. Girls like you know money. No connections. There's only one way you get ahead, and it's not through talent." The words hit like physical blows. Natalie felt tears burning, but refused to let them fall. This was her worst fear, realized being reduced to gossip, having her hard work dismissed as sexual favors. "That's enough," a new voice cut through the crowd. But it wasn't Alex. Cameron Pierce stepped forward, his face pale. "Rachel, stop. You're embarrassing yourself." "Oh, don't be naive, Cameron. Everyone's thinking it. I'm just saying it out loud. This girl went from minimum wage to tech darling in months because she's brilliant." Alex's voice rang out. He strode through the crowd, his eyes blazing with fury. "Because she designed an interface that's going to revolutionize VR interaction. Because she has more talent in her fingertips than you have in your entire spiteful existence." Rachel recovered quickly. How touching. The billionaire defending his pet project? "She's not a project," Alex interrupted, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "She's my partner, my co-founder, and the woman I'm in love with." The ballroom went utterly silent. Natalie's breath stopped. Alex hadn't looked away from her, his hazel eyes holding hers with unmistakable intent. "I've been in love with her since that first day in the cafe," Alex continued, speaking to the entire room, but looking only at Natalie. "I defended her because watching someone treat her like she was worthless made me furious. I hired her because she's talented, because she sees possibilities others miss, because she makes everything she touches better." He moved closer to Natalie, the crowd partying before him. "And yes, I fell in love with her. With her kindness, her resilience, her brilliant mind. With the way she treats everyone with respect, regardless of their status. With how she works harder than anyone I've ever met because she refuses to let circumstances define her." Alex stood in front of Natalie now, close enough to touch. 3 months ago, I kissed her and then immediately pulled away because I was afraid of what it meant, afraid of complicating our professional relationship. That was the stupidest thing I've ever done. Because Natalie Brooks is the best thing that's ever happened to me, professionally and personally. He turned to address the crowd. Every design you're experiencing tonight, that's Natalie's vision. The interface that's getting rave reviews, her concepts. Sterling Tech's success is built on her talent, her dedication, her genius. She didn't sleep her way here. She worked her way here while people like Rachel tried to tear her down for having the audacity to rise above her circumstances. Rachel's face had gone crimson. Cameron had abandoned her entirely, moving to the opposite side of the room. Alex looked back at Natalie. I'm announcing tonight that Natalie Brooks is officially co-founder and creative director of Sterling Tech. Not because we're involved romantically, but because she's earned it 10 times over. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can talk to our lawyers. The crowd erupted in applause. Investors who'd seen the demonstration nodded approvingly. Tech journalists frantically typed notes, but Natalie only saw Alex standing before her with his heart laid bare. You love me? She whispered. Desperately, Alex replied. I've been fighting it for months because I was afraid of risking what we'd built. But Luna was right. Fear is a terrible reason to avoid something extraordinary. Natalie felt tears spill over, but this time they were from joy. I love you too. I've loved you since you stood up for me in that cafe. Since you saw me when I felt invisible. Alex cupped her face in his hands. You were never invisible to me. From the first moment, you were all I could see. Their kiss was watched by 300 people, but neither of them cared. It was a claiming, a promise, a declaration that what they'd built together, both the company and the relationship, is real and worth defending. When they finally broke apart, the applause was deafening. Rachel Thornton had already fled, her humiliation complete, and Natalie Brooks, who'd started this journey being publicly shamed, ended it being publicly claimed by a man who loved her exactly as she was.